even though the time is so short, space for a security briefing on the elections that has just taken place. Mr. Speaker, this government may not have the opportunity again to speak to this nation on how well or not they have handled security, especially in relation to the just ended elections. Mr. Speaker, I think this is important because loss of lives during elections should not become a norm. Our elections should not always record the loss of Ghanaian lives. Mr. Speaker, it's becoming one too many. The first time we recorded this was in the 2020 general elections, where about 6 to 7 lives were lost after the elections. 7 to 8 lives. Mr. Speaker, just this election that has gone by, we are told of about 2 or 3 lives that have been lost. Mr. Speaker, indeed, as we speak, a family in Tolong, in Yankpala, is preparing for a funeral tomorrow with about 15 others nursing various degrees of injuries. Mr. Speaker, that cannot be accepted without us taking measures and proper briefing on what might have gone wrong. And so, Mr. Speaker, even though we do not have time, I will plead that the Business Committee considers a briefing to this House by either the Defense Minister or the Interior Minister or whoever was responsible for the provision of security in the just ended elections.
Well, in a sharp response, Defense Minister Dominic Nitiwul suggested that he and the Interior Minister have no answers to as what happened. He directed the minority to seek answers from the Inspector General of Police since he was in charge of election security.
We as a country agreed from 2008 that ministers of state, government functionaries, including the MMDs, so municipal chief executives, the DCEs, ministers of state, government officials, members of parliament cannot and should not be in charge of security when it comes to election matters. It should be left to the purview of the security services led by the police. So at the national level, it is the Inspector General of Police who is in charge of the security, the committee that oversees the security when it comes to election purposes. And at the regional level, it is the regional police commander who is in charge of it. And at district level, it is the district police commander who is in charge of it. And so that's how it is. There's an election committee at the national, at the regional, and at the district. If you are calling the Minister for Interior, he would just simply come and tell you he was not in charge of it. It's the IGP. If you call any other person, whether it's defense or interior or any of the ministers, they will just be there. They will have no answers because at the day of before elections, the election and after election, it's the security people who were in charge, led by the Inspector General of Police. And so if the Speaker thinks or the House thinks that they want to call the election security to come and brief this House, it cannot be members of, it cannot be ministers or government appointees because they have no role. And in fact, it was good. It's good that the executive were not in charge of security. It's always been like that because you cannot be a judge of your own court. It's wrong. And so that's why if you are calling somebody, it can only be the IGP and his team that will come and then you decide what happens. But I can say the records does not speak, or the record does not support your position that it was just 2020 and 2024 that people died out of election. I can tell you 2004 in Tolong, in Kumbungu, go and find out, and several other places, people lost their lives. But, Mr. Speaker, it's the decision of this House. If they want to call them, we can discuss these things. But just like somebody